Welcome, everybody, to another edition to the Turnbuckle Taverns in the News. I am joined by my co-host for the evening, Nick Storm Review. What's up, my man? How you doing?
Dude, I'm doing so good. It's a nice, brisk, tops of 64 degrees here in Australia. It's a nice cold. I got my heater on. I got my jumper on, dude. It's 7:30 a.m. in the morning. What am I doing? I'm a madman, but I'm good. How about yourself, Ace? What's been going down?
Not much. I mean, a lot going on in the AEW world. There's been a lot of chatter on social media, so we figured we'd get on here and discuss the Casino Battle Royale that's happening tonight. And not just the Casino Battle Royale, we have someone facing Moxley. There's a lot to unpack with Forbidden Door. So I figured we'd get on here and have a discussion and put it all out there and make our predictions, because the show's happening in less than 2 hours, or less than 3 hours at this point. It's 5:30 p.m. Eastern. Dynamite goes live 8 p.m. Eastern. So we want to discuss everything going on with this event. And this obviously happened off the heels of CM Punk announcing that he's injured, cannot compete, had to relinquish the championship. But there's a little bit of the caveat, confusion last week. Where do you stand on this? Obviously, how are you feeling? I know you're a big CM Punk fan. Were you down the dumps after last week happened?
I was. I feel like as a CM Punk fan, you could not be down in the dumps, because he had just won it, and this was going to be the big summer of Punk. I heard it in a backstage interview on AEW's YouTube channel, like maybe yesterday, that CM Punk initially wanted to relinquish the title, but Tony Khan believed in the vision. He believed in Punk, and he believed in the summer of Punk 2022, and so do I. I think we all do believe in it. You know, he's fresh off the heels. There you go, not Fred, of Double or Nothing. You know, winning against Hangman, and obviously injuring it before the trios match that he had with Dax and Cash just on the entranceway, which is like such an unfortunate injury. But he still wrestled the match. Good on him for that. He still tried to do his best, and I think he looked amazing still in that match. And yeah, it just sucks, you know, like as a CM Punk fan, because this is something that we waited for 7-8 long years, and it finally comes here, and we finally get it, and it's just put on the back burner even more. But I'm fine with it. I'm a patient little cat. So yeah, I'm fine with that. How about yourself?
Well, you know what? I'm all about things that you make the best of a bad situation, and Tony Khan's usually good at that. And wrestling fans always know that anything like this can happen at any given time. So the uncertainty created at least some excitement. It sucks that Punk is hurt, but there is this air of confusion and unpredictability that is going into tonight's show. We do not know what's going to happen, which leads us to the Casino Battle Royale. If you could pull up the graphic right now to show the rules.
Sure thing.
It was announced today on Busted Open Radio that this will follow the rules of a Casino Battle Royale, as we've seen at Double or Nothing. And this is a yearly tradition. We didn't see it this year. It was cut from the card, so it's kind of apropos. We're getting to see it here, right off the heels of Double or Nothing's event and all that. So we have 21 wrestlers entering the ring. Starts with 5 men. Every 3 minutes, a new wave of 5 men enter. Lucky 21 will enter last, and the Battle Royal entry numbers will be picked at a later date. Obviously, this is the rules that from Double or Nothing. We also have one Joker. So let's start with the question here. For you, who's the Joker? Do you have? I mean, we can all put out the names, but if you had to make a prediction right now, a couple hours from the show, who are you thinking shows up as the Joker in this event?
Ooh, so I was thinking about this. I think I've got my money on Claudio or Cesaro or CSRO, or however he's going to be going by. It's a tough pick between either that or Gargano, because I don't think it's going to be Kenny returning. Kenny, he just did PRP treatment. I saw an Instagram video of that, so he's still healing up, and you know his injuries aren't 100% there. As much as I'd like it to be Kenny Omega, but it's just not possible for right now. But I think Claudio is going to be my best pick, at least, because we know he's in the books to maybe join AEW. I heard a Mark Henry leak it some time ago when the rumors initially first came around. Claudio's going to be in AEW at some point, but just not right now. And that was at the start of the year, I believe. But it is rumored that he's in talks with WWE again, so that's up in the air, and it's completely new to me. Maybe it'll be Johnny Elite. Who freaking knows at this point?
So, I mean, the thing is with these debuts of the Jokers, we know they have set the precedent that they do not have to win on their debut. So it could be anybody. My guess, it is not Kenny Omega. Even if he was cleared to compete, this is not the spot you want to bring him back and send him into this chaos of you don't want him as the interim champion, and you don't want him getting involved in this whole thing with Punk, because you don't want that match to be happening on those terms. Eventually, we want Kenny and Omega and CM Punk to wrestle when they're healthy. The foregone conclusion is I think at the end of this all, we all can agree that CM Punk will walk away with the championship, and we will continue, whether it is the autumn of Punk, the end of summer of Punk, we're going to get this continued reign, and that's why their interim championship is there. Now that begs the question, what's the point of an interim champion if you're just going to put it back on Punk? And AEW has done a beautiful job of being unpredictable throughout the first couple of years of the company. So anything can happen. So I guess back to the question about who's the Joker, it doesn't much matter. I don't think whoever's the Joker is not winning. So I would say the Joker, I think you nailed it. I think Cesaro or Gargano would probably be the best options here. Maybe they're waiting in the wings to debut, and this is the perfect opportunity to bring them there. The beautiful part about having these battle royals is you can debut and be eliminated without looking weak. When you debut and lose like Johnny Elite did, he's stuck feeling like a jobber, like he's enhancement talent, because you set the tone from the beginning. If you didn't know Johnny Elite, now you know he's below who he wrestled against. In a battle royal, there's so many unique ways to be eliminated that it isn't the end of the world if you don't win. So I'm going to go, my money's on Gargano or Cesaro. I'd be happy with both of them just to have them in the company. I think Cesaro is earmarked to be in Ring of Honor, I'm hoping, just because he fits that brand, and he's, Claudio had a long extended run in Ring of Honor, and Johnny Gargano would be a great addition as well. So I think both of those options are good. All right, so that brings us to the other question, because we're only here for a short time. We're not going to hear and dissect the whole thing because we want to enjoy the show later. For you, who do you see walking away the Battle Royal? I guess go with who you would want to win, and who do you think is going to win?
Who do I want to win the Battle Royale? Well, I think a Claudio winning could be huge, but then again, there are a lot of people who are in line for that kind of title spot already. Yeah, but it could be a Claudio. Like, thinking about it, and you said it with losing like a battle royal, it doesn't really like hurt you that much, because the first thing we saw of Christian Cage in AEW was that Casino Battle Royal last year, and he got eliminated by Jungle Boy, and that was amazing. Like, everyone pops to that because they're either big Jungle Boy fans or just hated Christian, either one of the two. But yeah, mate, I would love to see Claudio and Moxley tear it up, because that's something that would be huge. I think who'd like actually have to win the Battle Royal would be the Joker, because then they're facing, Moxley and the Joker are facing each other tonight on Dynamite, probably the main event, I'm guessing. So it'd be someone who would have to go the distance. Cesaro's at that peak physical performance, in my opinion. He's the male specimen. He's someone who I look at and I go, that's a test tube baby right there. That's perfection in a nutshell. But I think it'd have to be that, someone who can go the distance, and someone who didn't get too roughed up in the Battle Royale. But again, we've seen Rey Mysterio coming at number 1 win the Royal Rumble, you know what I mean? So like, or close to that. So who knows? It could be anyone at this point, but I think I might have to lean to Cesaro as well for that.
Very interesting. I don't think, for me, that'd be amazing, and I would love to see Cesaro and Moxley tear it up in the main event of Dynamite tonight. That's sort of alternate universe stuff thinking about. But this is the perfect opportunity. Ever since we did the CM Punk in the news last week, or over the weekend, I think it was Friday, we did it after Rampage, we talked about who could potentially be winning the Battle Royal. We mentioned names like Bryan Danielson, who we know now he missed the autograph signing over the weekend. They had said that he's out for 1 to 2 weeks, but who knows anymore? What's a work? What's a shoot? I'm going to believe that he actually is injured, so I'm taking Bryan Danielson's his name out of the hat. I love the idea of Eddie Kingston winning the Battle Royal tonight and going on to face Jon Moxley. And I can't take credit for that idea. That was a prediction from Young Anthony. So shout out to Young Anthony. I think Eddie Kingston and Jon Moxley have the built-in story. They have the built-in friendship. It's awesome there. So that brings us to the question. So my prediction's Eddie Kingston. You predict Cesaro. Do you see Jon Moxley winning or losing, or is it just a foregone conclusion? Because my opinion is, if you bring Jon Moxley into this situation, he is one of your top 5 guys in the company. You can't have a guy who wrestled twice beat your former world champion and make him look like kind of a geek. I don't know. I feel like Jon Moxley, who's wrestling once that night, he's not in the Battle Royal. Someone who goes the distance, beating 20 other men, and then beating Jon Moxley sort of makes Jon Moxley look not so great. So
Mm.
what are you leaning on? Are you thinking Moxley's walking away the winner, or do you think it's going to be someone else?
Definitely Moxley, dude. If we've seen anything with Moxley, he can hold it down as champion. We've seen it in the pandemic era. I think he carried that. You know, he definitely carried the the main title picture. I mean, obviously, because there was only one main title, but he put on banger after banger. Something that
During the
comes to mind.
pandemic, too, he was champion during a really rough time.
Yeah, and like you said, Eddie Kingston, Moxley and Eddie Kingston at Full Gear, I believe it was, right? That one match, like, beautiful stuff. Like, one of my favorite rivalries because it got me really hooked into Eddie. And it's just, I think it'd have to be Moxley because he needs that crowd. He needs that championship reign, even if it is for a little time, in front of a crowd, in my opinion, because he can hold it down. I think it will be him as the AEW interim champion at Forbidden Door, but we'll get into that later.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm thinking at that.
So to play devil's advocate here, and that's what we do here, we like to have debates. Do you think it sort of tarnishes the legacy and the lineage and muddies the water of having the first ever two-time champion be an interim champion? We haven't had a two-time champion hold the AEW championship yet. Is it possible for you to look at it as Jon Moxley's the two-time champion, but he's kind of not. He's just the interim champion. The lineage gets sort of muddy. That's where the interim stuff loses me because you have who's the champion, who was an interim champion. And I know it's easier for a company like WWE to do that. We've seen them do it time and time again with the Intercontinental title all the way back in 1994 with Shawn Michaels and Razor Ramon. We've even seen it as recent as 2011 with CM Punk and Rey Mysterio and that whole mess with John Cena. But when you have a title that isn't that established, it's a meaningful championship. It holds a lot of weight here in wrestling. But at the end of the day, there's only been about 6 guys to hold it. So to have your first ever two-time champion, Moxley's the perfect guy. But do you want it to be sort of this lame duck champion where Jon Moxley, I don't know, I kind of want him to have a second run be a long run. I think he deserves that.
Yeah. Well, something with AEW as well, we can't really predict what they're thinking, right? So they could have plans. I wouldn't go by this, but they could have plans. Like, they very easily could make Moxley win against Punk. You know what I mean? If it is for the case, like, you know, worst case scenario, I guess, because I'm a Punk fanatic. But that could easily be an option, and I don't not see them doing that. I just don't see them doing that more. But I feel like Moxley is a guy that you can lean on for second-time world champ because I don't know if you want to destroy someone's first reign. I wouldn't say it's destroy, maybe like kind of, you know, ruin a little bit their first reign just being interim champion and then losing down the line anyway in a couple months being the shortest reigning champion ever. At least Moxley has that he's a double champ under his belt if that is the case. So
yeah, I mean, you can make either argument, I think, and I see Freems in the chat too. I do not have controls of the comments, but Freems had said, well, we're talking circles now. You can argue, do you want someone's first run to be interim? That was the argument people were making to me on Wednesday. I completely agree with you, and I think that either side, that's why the interim championship sort of is a weird booking, and I know that Tony Khan gets a lot of his influence from UFC. We see it on pay-per-view, that they wanted the main event to go out late after the NBA Eastern Conference Finals was over. They wanted that to be the case. So he bases a lot of his, I guess, modeling of his events and I guess the way it's structured under the real sporting event of UFC. So the interim title in that world means something, you know, like there's interim champions that defend the title in between the champion being hurt.
And the interim like kind of idea isn't the best. You know what I mean? Like if we've seen with the TNT title, if anything, it's kind of strange, right?
Yeah.
But this is just TK's sporting booking brain, so it's not really we can do anything about it.
Right. So I think honestly to go back with young Anthony, what he was saying last time we were talking about Punk, he was talking about Eddie Kingston. He would never have this opportunity unless something like this happens. So you take a short exit off the road, whether you decide to put the interim title on him or not. I don't know if Eddie Kingston versus Tanahashi has that draw. I don't know if it has that appeal. I know that Jon Moxley versus Tanahashi has that appeal, but Bryan Danielson versus Tanahashi has that appeal. Cesaro versus Tanahashi may have that appeal, but there is a lot of options you can go with that makes it unique. The safe option probably is to just let Moxley win tonight, walk into Forbidden Door, and wrestle Tanahashi. So I think we're in agreement here. The interim decision probably wasn't the best. You probably should have just had Punk relinquish the title and then have someone hold the title until Punk gets back and give him the first shot. I think, you know, someone I see Freems in the chat again talking about Jericho. Jericho does make sense too, because he could be someone that he can lean into it. That's a very sports entertainment thing to do, is be the 2-time champion, but it happens in the most wrestling way possible. So, and I think it would be fun to get another Jericho run, because I don't know if we're going to get another Jericho run. So there's so many different options, and we can sit here and talk about it. I think your prediction, you think Moxley's walking out tonight winning. I think I agree with that as well.
I think you brought up a good point. Eddie Kingston, I didn't even think about like the future that could hold. Like, I think Eddie Kingston would be a great champion. He could, as you said, I don't know if he'll get this opportunity, because that's kind of his story, right? He's kind of like Hangman in that way. He never gets the big one, I guess. You know what I mean? As Jericho states, he never gets the big one. So Eddie getting the big one, but it just feels kind of rushed and not like the build-up could have been better, I guess, for it if it was the case. But no one could predict CM Punk getting injured like this spontaneously. But I do see whether it is CM Punk or Eddie Kingston as the champion going into Grand Slam this year, Eddie Kingston versus CM Punk #2 at Grand Slam. I see that happening. I want that to happen. If it doesn't, I will be yelling at you on Twitter, Tony Khan. So,
yeah, so there are a lot of options you can go with, but I think what really the focus is Forbidden Door, June 26th in Chicago, that the match has to sell. There has to be a reason. I know that the tickets are pretty much sold out at this point, but you want pay-per-view buys. So you have to book whoever wins tonight. Wrestling Tanahashi, it has to be a draw. And I think 2 guys fit that mold, or 2 guys that are competing tonight. I think it's Jericho. I also think it's Moxley. So I think Moxley and Jericho both are options tonight. I think Bryan Danielson versus Tanahashi would tear the house down. But all these other guys, I don't know if Eddie Kingston has the draw. And if it was a different world with different booking, that you weren't booking towards Forbidden Door, different scenario. But let's move on to Forbidden Door and talk about that. If you could pull up the little bracket we have here as well, just to show So we have the winner of the Battle Royal tonight facing Jon Moxley. And also, don't forget, at Dominion, which happens this Sunday, June 12th in Osaka Hall, Hiroki Goto taking on Hiroshi Tanahashi. So seems like a foregone conclusion that Tanahashi is going to walk away at Dominion, challenging at Forbidden Door, because Goto has no draw. If you know anything about Goto, he's a journeyman wrestler. He's been wrestling for a long time. I think he's 40 plus. So now you have him wrestling Tanahashi. And I think they want to make it not a foregone conclusion that Tanahashi was going there. He has to earn it. And at Forbidden Door, we're going to have the AEW interim world champion being crowned. So here's my prediction, Nick Storm, and I'm not sure if you agree with this or not. I think Tanahashi's walking away with the interim championship. I do. And I think it gives you the option, because you eventually build back towards the match you were building towards in the first place, CM Punk versus Tanahashi. And I think that could work out. The only thing is he has Japanese dates that he's working on, the G1, which is happening later on this summer. So if he can get out of those things and be committed to AEW in a way that he could be there on TV, whatever it takes, I think he would be the best option, because then you go back linear to where it was. You go back to CM Punk and Tanahashi and continue the story from where it was. That's my prediction.
Dude, I see there's a method to the madness. I don't not see that happening as well. Like, all this is very, like, possible. I can definitely see, because then you don't kind of, for the argument's sake, you don't ruin a 2-time champion. You don't ruin someone's first championship reign. And you kind of, I don't know, but then it kind of, it is weird with the dates and everything like that as well. It would be really interesting to see that go down. But yeah, dude, it just begs, like, it just begs excitement for me, I think, because it's just like, what kind of world are we living in that a New Japan talent can hold a prestigious, one of the highest viewed North American, like, kind of TV wrestling programs. So it's like, it's pretty cool to me in the grand scheme of things if that were to happen. Wouldn't be opposed to seeing that, if anything.
I think it's a really good option, and it gives legitimacy to the Forbidden Door. Like, people talk about the Forbidden Door, and I think it was a foregone conclusion that Tanahashi was doing the job to Punk at Forbidden Door, and everyone was okay with that. But having someone from New Japan, it's not only good for your relationship with that company, but other companies. It shows you're willing to work with them and put the title on them. So yeah. I think it's a really good option here, that you can show good faith in New Japan about future things. And New Japan has surely showed that they have faith, and they let guys do a whole bunch of stuff together and they're able to work cohesively together. And how often do we have AEW guys holding other championships? Right now, FTR holding the AAA championships. This is an act of good faith that Tanahashi could be their champion just for a short period of time, however long it takes for Punk to get back.
I will say I don't know if that suffers in the ratings though, because like I don't know with Tanahashi if you're building this big story. I don't know if Tanahashi can he speak English like well.
Not well, but yeah, he can.
Okay. Yeah, because I was just thinking like if Eddie were to win, that could create heat dynamites like weekly, right? I could create because you have someone who's hungry, who's just been hungrier than ever, and someone who's just as real as Eddie Kingston. Like even with Mox, I can say that as well. You know what I mean? So it's like if Tanahashi were to win, I don't know how they would do in the ratings, but I know if he were to win, that he would impress a lot of people. A lot of people would be wrong about him as well, just because it is like kind of an outsider coming in. You know what I mean? But yeah, that's the only main problem I have with it. But then again, like it's not much of a problem too.
I think the idea is you don't want to stray too far from the path, as I have the lawnmowers going in the background over here, of course, as we're going live. This is live, pal.
This is live, pal.
You don't want the story to stray too far from the path, but you don't want it to be predictable. And I think this fits both things. You have Tanahashi. It's unpredictable. Nobody could have predicted that at any point in time, someone from New Japan Wrestling, especially Tanahashi, would ever hold the championship, interim or not. It would give a layer of unpredictability to this Forbidden Door and give it legitimacy for really the first time. The Forbidden Door right now is just having guys come on and have these dream matchups. Usually it's the other way around. AEW guys leaving and working in different companies. We see Jon Moxley in New Japan. He also works in GCW. But how cool would it be for an outsider to come in and hold their championship? It doesn't really matter. It's an interim championship. It doesn't really fit. He wouldn't be a lame duck because he wasn't supposed to be there in the first place. It doesn't hurt anybody. And then eventually you get the CM Punk versus Tanahashi match that you were building towards. Obviously, that was the match that you were going to sell pay-per-views with. They obviously view Tanahashi as a draw in some capacity, and that's the match you want to get to. So why not? Why cut out the middleman? Why does Jon Moxley have to be involved at all? You know, the only thing he has to be involved in is he has to be someone Tanahashi steps over.
Yeah, I agree. I want you to entertain this idea. I saw it over Twitter. I don't agree with it, but people are saying, or not really people, but like a lot of people were speculating that maybe MJF wins this.
I mean, I see that possibility because this has become a wrestling storyline. I still am of the ilk that he is going to be to me, this was started as a shoot, became a work, and now it's a work shoot, sort of like Brian Pillman. So I don't think bringing him back on TV in a wrestling capacity plays this storyline out. I think eventually the World Championship should be involved. I think he should eventually be involved and take the World Championship on his free agency year. And I know that the Chads have been playing that tune for a very long time. And it's a brilliant idea. The booking decision makes sense to have him do the whole Punk thing over to him. Right now, his whole career, a lot of it has been a love letter to CM Punk. We got the dog collar match. You also have the pipe bomb now. And doing his free agency year, threatening to leave the company with the championship is right out of CM Punk's playbook. So I think the opportunity there would be great. I think having them wrestle whenever Punk's going to get back. If you think Punk is going to be back at the end of the summer or early fall, I don't think to me, there's not enough time has passed since Punk and MJF have gotten together. I think you need to have them work together well past this. I think they have moved on from each other. The feud had a nice cap on top of it after everything that happened with Wardlow. They both should be going their separate ways. And I think, listen, it would be interesting for sure to see MJF come into the Battle Royale tonight, win, and then beat Moxley. It would pop a buy rate for sure. People start searching for MJF, but it would completely diffuse everything that went on last week, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. No, I think you have MJF winning his first title next year. Whether it's Double Nothing, All Out, Full Gear, maybe even like later towards the year, like an All Out or Full Gear, because then he can bring it into his free agency when it's up in January 1st, 2024, right? Do a whole Punk angle. I'm leaving with this title. Gonna put it in my fridge. All that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? So I think that's what you do with this. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like MJF, we don't see him in a proper match for a while. We maybe see backstage segments with him getting kicked out by security or something like that. Doing more promos, doing whatever the case may be. I think you could turn this into something really huge. Someone who's not wanted there, and He kind of. I don't know. It's interesting, like because we don't know what's going to happen on Dynamite. We don't know if MJF's going to be on there. Probably, I don't know. But judging by last week, maybe not. Maybe not for a while. But
the thing is, you don't want to upset what the original storyline is, and obviously, as we have in the background, the lawnmowers again going off. This is like the ice cream truck on Honor Society.
Yeah.
The big thing is you don't want to upset where you were going, and clearly where they were going was not MJF in the title picture because he was not involved. So don't just get rid of all of your storyline because something bad happened. This isn't Vince McMahon, the limo blowing up. This isn't, when Chris Benoit died. This isn't that. You want to make sure that you're staying true to what the story was originally, and you want to make sure that you're giving people entertaining matches that they can look forward to. So I think the answer is to have Tanahashi win the championship or have it be Moxley. I think those two options are good options. Is Moxley the sexiest option? No, but he's a reliable guy that we know we can get good matches out of.
Did you say is he the sexiest option?
Sexiest, yes, I did say sexiest. Yeah.
I like the use of the sex. I'm just gonna say that now as an adjective. I will address something in the chat for the live people. There is this weird sex bot. Don't buy into it. I'm trying to block the messages as soon as they come up. But regardless, this was a cool little news story here. I want to know if you guys are watching at home. Make sure to comment down below, whether it's on Twitch, Twitter, Facebook. I was going to say Instagram. Live streaming on Instagram. That's revolutionary. Pay me all the royalties for that when you think of it. But comment down below what you think is going to happen. Who's coming out tonight? The victor in this Battle Royal, who is facing Jon Moxley, and who's going to be the winner of that? I saw people speculating, Bryan Danielson, but obviously he's out with injury. And when you asked who I thought could be the winner of the Battle Royal, not a lot of names came to mind just because of all the names that are injured right now. I made a funny tweet on Twitter saying like all the people that are injured are just faking it and they're unionizing together and going to control your narrative. Could happen, but probably not likely. Probably definitely not likely. Maybe you'll see Ryback in the Battle Royal. Who knows?
Yeah, selfishly, I would love to have Bryan Danielson win the championship, but this is not the time. We don't want to just make a knee-jerk reaction to something that happened in a vacuum. And if they've made an interim championship situation, they obviously know CM Punk is going to be back at a certain time, whether it be in time for August or whenever it is. It's going to be enough time to continue the story we were going to get from Punk. And I think that's the important part, is because this was an important stepping stone for where the company wants to go. Putting the title on Punk was a monumental moment. You don't want to just bypass that. You don't want to treat it as a Finn Balor moment where he won the Universal Championship and then was pretty much forgotten about. So You want to continue the story you're going to tell, because I was looking forward to that story. That doesn't mean they can't stray off on a cool path. That doesn't mean they can't go off and do different stories. But I think ultimately you need to go back to where you were going. And what an easier way to do is have the match that you were going to intend to have Tanahashi win at Forbidden Door, and then you get Punk and Tanahashi at a later date where Punk gets his win over Tanahashi, and then you go to the races to whatever you're going to do with Punk.
Yeah, I agree, man. Like, I'd never thought of that, but the way you worded it, there is a method to the madness in Ace's brain, and I think like that's a very viable option. Like, that's definitely like, it's something that could work, and I definitely see it working, because like obviously they were going to have this huge build to the pay-per-view. Like in 1 month you can only do so much, but that was going to be jam-packed. Each show was going to mention it at some point, so it does feel like a little letdown that we're not going to get that. But I don't put it past AEW to bring us that in the future when Punk does return. But do you want to roll this out here, Ace? What do you want to do?
All right, so we are going to be live 10:30 p.m. Eastern following AEW Dynamite on the AEW Wrap-Up Show. This will be my first appearance as a full-time member with the squad. I'll be filling in for temporarily for the legend that is Freems. Twitch.tv/Freems will be he is doing his Twitch stuff, so I'm going to be filling in. Big shoes to fill. That guy is a legend, so I'll be talking everything that's going on here. Maybe I was right, maybe I was wrong, but my prediction, just to be clear again, I think Jon Moxley's walking out the winner of whoever wins the Battle Royal. It doesn't matter. Jon Moxley's winning. He's going over to Forbidden Door. We're going to get Tanahashi versus Jon Moxley, and Tanahashi is going to be walking away AEW Interim World Champion, and that's, to me, good faith towards New Japan Wrestling and other companies that want to work cohesively with Tony Khan and All Elite Wrestling. I think it scratches both itches, Nick Storm. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, 100%. Like, yeah, I will say this again because I love the line. There's a method to your madness, Ace, in the brain there. But yeah, definitely something to think about. Guys, comment down below. Let us know on social media and where you can find us actually on social media. theturnbuckletavern.com. Find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Twitch, TikTok, Discord, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Pro Wrestling Tees for your merch, and also Teespring. Go theturnbuckletavern.com. A lot of fun stuff there. Let us know on the socials there what you think is going to go down tonight, what you think is going to go down at Forbidden Door, and just generally, what do you think the future or 2022 AEW is going to turn out like with the champions and whatnot? Let us know. But Ace, any final words?
Yes. Again, make sure to tune in tonight following Dynamite, the AEW wrap-up show. Tune in tomorrow for other things we have here going on. We have a whole bunch of stuff going on in the tavern. Make sure you like and follow and subscribe. We'll be popping in more within the news, different faces of the tavern, whether it be Nick Storm, myself. Last week we got J-Bone. Hopefully the Two Bad Chats can get in here eventually and we can do some in the news because they are the OGs. They are the godfathers of the tavern. So they'll be breaking news. You don't know who's coming here. If there's a big wrestling story, the Turnbuckle Tavern has you covered. Make sure you guys have that bell notification on, and we're going to be talking about everything going on in the world of wrestling. So strap in. The summer is going to be a lot of fun. So I appreciate you guys joining us here on this impromptu in the news. Again, we will be live in probably a few short hours. I'll be on the AEW wrap-up show talking everything that went down, and we're going to dissect our predictions. So until next time, I'm Acefield Retro, the ace of the tavern. That's Nick Storm, and we're out.